Hello everyone, it's Sylvia from Hailsham Church. Let's open our next Advent window, shall we? Number 6 for the 6th of December. And here we can see loads and loads of people. We can see a picture of some hills, some land, and part of a building where people would go to meet with God. A bit like church, really. And we're thinking about promises this morning. And I wonder if you have to make promises sometimes, whether you have to promise to do things like play quietly or things like tidy your bedroom or things like playing nicely with other people. Oh dear. Promises don't always work out as we intend, do they? And even the promises that people make to us don't work out either. They're tricky things, promises, because all sorts of things can get in the way. A promise can be a really hard thing to keep. Thank goodness that God's always really good at keeping promises. And his promises are amazing and nothing can stop him because he's in charge. And he kept his promise, didn't he, from the time of Adam and Eve, and he kept his promise to save Noah. In today's true story from the beginning of the Bible, from Genesis chapter 12, we're going to hear about a promise that God made to a man called Abraham many, many years ago. Now, Abraham lived in a nice town and in a nice house, and he was very happy there. There was only one thing wrong with that place, and that was that the people didn't believe in God. But Abraham did. And one day, God spoke to him. Wow, how amazing is that? God spoke to Abraham. But God had something very surprising to say to Abraham. He told him he had to leave his home and to travel to a place that God would show him. It would take a while to get there, and Abraham would have to live in a tent, and so he would keep moving on. God also made 3 special promises to Abraham: that he would give him the land he was taking him to, that God would be friends with him and watch over him, and that Abraham would have lots of descendants. That meant he would have children, and his children would have children, and that would keep going on until there would be so many people that they would fill a country and become a nation. Eventually, through God's family, the whole world was going to know about God. Abraham went home and he told his wife Sarah about all that God had said to him. She must have been sad to leave her home, so she doesn't look very happy in this picture. But the Bible tells us that Abraham trusted God's promises, and so he did what God had asked him to do. He packed up all their belongings and got together all the people that were part of the family, all the animals. There were sheep and goats, chickens, donkeys, camels to ride on. They must have made quite a noisy crowd as they went, and they left their home for the land that God had promised them. Now, the best part of God's promise to Abraham, for him, was that he would have children, because Abraham was already 75 years old and he hadn't got any children. But for us, the best part of this promise was that the whole world would know about God and that Jesus was born from Abraham's family line. Well, you'll hear more about that tomorrow. But what an amazing promise from God to Abraham and to us all. Now, I'm going to talk to God in a prayer. If you want to join in my prayer, then we can all say amen together at the end. Thank you, God, that your promises are so big and amazing, and that you always keep them. especially thank you that you kept your promise to send Jesus for us, so that we can talk to him and ask him to watch over us. Thank you for the Bible and all that we learn about him there. Amen. Well, that brings us to the end of today's true story from the Bible. There'll be more tomorrow, and you've got your colouring to do as well. Goodbye, everybody.